Thank you. Everyone can hear me? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Ed Keene. I'm the Co-Vice President for Programs here at the National Economists Club. As many of you know, one of the topics we've been discussing in our lunches this year is housing, given its important role it's played in shaping economic performance in recent years. And to further discuss this topic, we're very fortunate today to have with us Laurie Goodman, who's one of the most prominent mortgage market analysts in the U.S. Laurie is currently Senior Managing Director at Amherst Securities, where she is responsible for strategy and business development. Before joining Amherst, she served from 1993 to 2008 as Head of Global Fixed Income Research and Manager of U.S. Securitized Products Research at UBS and its predecessor firms. Before that, Laurie spent 10 years in senior fixed income research positions at Citicorp, Goldman Sachs, and Merrill Lynch, and also was a mortgage portfolio manager on the buy side and a senior economist at the New York Fed. Her work as a mortgage analyst has been widely recognized by her peers in the fixed income community, and last year she was selected to the Fixed Income Analyst Hall of Fame. She holds an undergraduate degree in mathematics from the University of Pennsylvania and master's and PhD degrees in economics from Stanford. Please join me in welcoming Laurie to speak here. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming today. You should all have a copy of the handout. Are we?
It will be posted on our website.
Can we actually?
I can hand out a few of them.
Yeah, if it'd be possible, just so that every couple people can have one, because some of the numbers in here are pretty small. So. What I'd like to do is talk today on the state of the U.S. residential mortgage market. Basically making the case that on the surface, things look pretty good, but once you get underneath the surface, you've got a huge overhang of, you've got some very, very deep problems. And then I'd like to spend sort of the second part of this talk talking about modification programs, what's been effective, what hasn't been effective, and what we expect going forward. So with that, let's turn to page 2 of your handout. This basically shows you what a lot of people think the housing market looks like. Looks fabulous. Home prices are down 30% from the peak, and they seem to have stabilized. Primary mortgage rates are relatively low. The result of that, on the right-hand side of this slide, is that housing affordability is at its best level in several decades. That is the ability of the family earning the median income to afford the median price home, taking out a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, looks absolutely terrific. I'm going to make you the case, though, that beneath the surface, things actually look pretty ugly. You've got a huge number of borrowers who have stopped paying their mortgage and are destined to liquidate if nothing happens. In addition, you've got still more borrowers who have severe negative equity and also have a high probability of default. Altogether, if nothing is done, we basically have about a 12 million unit problem. That is, there's about 56 million homes with a mortgage in the U.S. If nothing is done, we think something like 12 million of them could be forced to liquidate. So let's actually look at some numbers and make you the case that 12 million is a number that doesn't prove I'm absolutely on drugs. The MBA delinquency survey shows you that 14% of all borrowers are not paying their mortgage at the present time. That's 4.6% in foreclosure, 4.6% 90 days plus, 1.5% 60 days plus, and 3.3% 30 days plus. 14%. 14% of 56 million units is about 7.9 million units. Now, we overlay this, the probability of liquidation. That is, the likelihood that the borrower does not cure or prepay. And I'll sort of go through how we get these numbers in a little while. But if we overlay the probability of liquidation on the MBA delinquency survey, we come to the conclusion that 12.8% of 56 million units, or about 7.2 million units, could be forced to liquidate. And these are guys who are already in the delinquency pipeline. These are borrowers that are already not paying their mortgage. Now, modification may lower the number somewhat, but the redefault rate on modifications is reasonably high, particularly during the trial period. We figured that if the HAMP program, as it currently stands, at most you could save about 1.1 million units, and we think that number is too high. We got that by assuming 85% of all borrowers are mod eligible. 50% of those, 50% of those are willing to go along with the modification. 50% of those qualify and actually make their payments and submit their income information. And 75% of those are ultimately successful. That gives you about 1.1 million units saved. And remember, this 7.2 million units that are destined to liquidate is just those loans that are already delinquent. It doesn't consider the, it doesn't capture the 250,000 units a month that are going delinquent for the first time. These loans are going delinquent at a far more rapid pace than the loans are liquidating. Yes?
Where'd you get your probability of liquidation rate?
I'll go into that in just 1 second. And I'll go into that a couple of different ways because obviously that's a key assumption here. This basically shows you a time series of that 7.2 million units through time. You can see sort of back in 2005 it was more like 1 million units. It's grown to 7.2 million units. It's grown very rapidly for 3 reasons. First, delinquencies are up sharply, which you see on this table, particularly the serious delinquencies, the 60-day and the 90-day delinquencies. Secondly, cure rates have just gone down really dramatically. And thirdly, the time to liquidation is stretching out. So let me actually show you cure rates 2 ways. The first way on page 6 shows you repeated applications of the quarterly transition matrices. This is data drawn from the non-agency universe, the loan performance securitized database. And what you see here is that if you were 60 days down in 2005, you had about a 65% chance of curing. Now it's gone down to about 7%. If you were 30 days down in 2005, you had about an 85% chance of curing. Now it's down to about 30%. A big part of this is that equity matters a lot, and a lot more borrowers are in a negative equity situation. And we're going to, as we proceed through the talk, we think that equity is the single most important determinant. The combined loan-to-value ratio of the mortgage is the single most important determinant of default. And ultimately, to have a successful modification program, you're going to have to seriously do principal reduction. But we'll get to that a little bit later. The right-hand side of this slide shows you the behavior of borrowers who are 30 days delinquent 6 months ago. Why did we pick 30 days delinquent? Because that's the point at which you're 1 payment behind. You're trying to figure out, gee, do I want to continue to pay my mortgage or not? You're sort of doing that strategic reevaluation of your financial circumstances. So we took the borrowers who were 30 days delinquent 6 months ago. We dropped them into the mark-to-market combined loan-to-value ratio as of where they were 6 months ago. We did a Facebook lookup of each of those loans 6 months later and said, are you MBA 60-plus delinquent? You can see for the borrowers whose CLTV was less than 80, only about 38% of them were 60 days delinquent 6 months later. For borrowers in the 141 to 150 range, about 68% of them were MBA 60 days delinquent 6 months later. And actually what's really interesting about this slide is look at the blue line. That is the line for prime securities. The prime borrowers are the most merciless defaulters. You can see that line is steeper than the others. For the subprime borrower, going 30-60, 30-60 is a way of life. For prime borrowers, it's not. They miss 1 payment. They do that strategic reevaluation of their financial circumstances. If you're underwater by 50 points, you're probably not going to continue to make your mortgage payments.